Happy Camper Radio, episode 21. Come on, let's go camping. Hello, everybody, and welcome back once again to another episode of the Happy Camper Radio Show. We are now up to episode 21. 21 weeks. Wow, Daniel, what do you think about that, huh?
Yeah, 21. The drinking age. I like it.
You like that? Well, maybe we can go for 21 more weeks of hot summer vacation. Wouldn't that be nice?
We haven't even gotten 1 week of summer vacation.
Yeah, and you want to know something? The weather has turned ugly on us again. I'm glad I did not have my belongings packed by the door, ready to go to the local campground and enjoy myself this weekend because I would get drenched.
It was so nice last weekend.
Oh. Yeah. This is just one of those things, and I really feel sorry for the folks that plan a vacation. Yeah. They take time off work, they put it a year in advance, and they really hope to get out there and go camping for the whole week, and they get drenched. Those are the folks I really feel sorry for. It's one thing to be able to camp on a weekend, and, if the weather turns sour, you just say, oh, so what? Next weekend will be another weekend. We'll put it off till then.
Yeah.
But anyway, with the weather being a little on the ugly side, let's go ahead and get the campfire lit. I'm going to do that right now. And that's going to warm things up. It always does. Yes. 404-537-2267 is our phone number here at the Happy Camper Radio Show. You can give Daniel and I a call anytime, day or night, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Leave us your name, where you're calling from, what part of the world you live in, and leave us your camping question in your voicemail. Of course, you can always email us by going to our website, which is www.happycamperradio.com. Click on the Contact Us button at the top of the page, and you can like us on Facebook as well as follow us on Twitter. If you have smartphones, which a lot of people do these days, you can catch us in the iTunes Store, Stitcher, Podbean, MyroGuide, and the BlackBerry podcast directories. There's always a good way to catch up with us here on the Happy Camper Radio Show. Well, Daniel, we've got a great one lined up here for you this week. Yes, you're going to drag me out of the tent for this one.
Woohoo!
We are going to talk about trailers and pop-ups.
Oh, wow, Daniel, real camping. That's real camping right there.
And I'm not gonna take too bad of a beating on this. Okay, because
wait
a minute. I have an RV. You know it. It's sitting at the edge of the driveway, and it's been there for quite some time because I am now back into tent camping. But that's not to say that things won't change again.
You still have a truck.
I still have a truck, and I still have a camper, and the camper just needs to be seated on the truck in order for us to go. Yep. But anyway, that's going to be one of the things we're going to talk about today. And just a little while from now, we've got somebody that we're going to bring on the program. It is a local dealer here in this area who specializes in pop-ups and RVs.
All right.
And he's going to go ahead and talk to us a little bit about what newcomers to the RV world can expect if they're ready to go out and buy, if they are in the market for a pop-up camper or an RV. We're going to have a great discussion with him as well. But right now, I'm really pleased that we're able to discuss this here because, Daniel, there's a lot of good things that come about with RVs. Mm-hmm. Now, I found this out several years ago, when I ventured away from the primitive camping that I had been into for quite some time.
Right.
All right. I went ahead and I bought this truck camper. Mm-hmm. Now, this was a multi-purpose RV. And when I mean multi-purpose, I used it not only for camping, but I also used it for job-related activities as well. There was a time in my life where I was away from home for several days at a time. Mm-hmm. I could have very easily spent the money and gone into a hotel room every night and wasted that money away, or I could have gone out and bought, which I did, this truck camper. Now, these RVs come with a lot of great amenities these days. You name it, it's in there. I can tell you this much from a lot of the public campgrounds I've been in, and I think you can piggyback on this too because you've been out there and you've seen it yourself. Uh-huh. There are a lot of folks that do RV. a lot of times at the campgrounds when I get there, I can't even recall a time that I have been to a public or a private campground and there were just only tent campers there.
They're smart.
And I just can't help but to, venture on down the road and see some of these luxurious looking RVs, pop-ups, tent campers. And I'm only looking at them from the outside. I can only imagine what is on the inside there. And, folks who RV, they're out there to serve the same purpose we are. They're out there to have fun. They can still sit by the fire. They can still pull out their favorite camping chair and recliner like we talked about last week.
Right.
They can roast marshmallows. They can sing songs around the fire. They can tell some of those crazy ghost stories like the ones you were into,
Yeah, there you go.
And camping is what it's all about. But, some folks these days, do prefer to go the route of the pop-up camper or the RV. And speaking of which, you got your pop-up back.
I did.
When are we going to have the big unveiling?
When it stops raining. So who knows when it's going to happen.
You jackhammered on my door so hard when you told me you got that pop-up camper. I grabbed my digital camera. I was ready to go out and post some pictures on the website. And what did I see you do? Throw a canvas over the top of it.
Got to protect it from the rain.
Oh, my heavens. Well, I'm anxiously waiting to see that pop-up actually pop up in the air.
When I see sun on the Weather Channel, then that thing will come up.
Yeah, I'm
speaking of which, I was listening to last week's episode, and you mentioned a backyard camp out with maybe your daughters or something.
Right, yeah.
Would it be wrong for me to just pop up my pop-up and sleep in there that night?
No, it wouldn't be. Just bring it on over here.
I got to back it in.
No, just drive it through the front yard.
In the front yard.
Pull it out of the back. We've got neighbors in the back. We got neighbors on the other side. And they're going to be looking. They're going to be staring. So what?
Well, that'll be good because I got an extension cord, and I'll just extend the extension cord all the way back to the house.
Whose house?
My house.
Okay, yeah, you're going to draw power from your house. Okay, for this one, yeah, I ain't no telling what it's going to cost me to plug in the outlet on my back patio.
Well, I got to power my plasma. Come on, dude.
Well, I don't think I'm going to have any electrical outlets hooked up to my tent, but that's just the way it is. Now, if I decide to go move my truck camper back there and park it, then yes, I'm going to go ahead and probably tie into the electrical outlet that you have on your house again. But hey, that's what it's all about. It's all about having fun, and that's what we do best right here on the Happy Camper Radio Show. Now, for some folks like myself, who have been camping for a number of years, there are benefits to upgrading from primitive camping to RVing, as we'll call it. One of which is, folks like myself who approach their retirement years and are counting down the days. Now, no, it's not just around the corner. I've got about another 5.5 years, but then I'm going to have plenty of time on my hands. I may want to do some long-term traveling, venture away for long periods of time, and that's the perfect way to do it, Daniel.
Oh, yeah.
Load up in your camper, load up in your RV, load up in your pop-up, whatever you decide you want to take with you. And that's really a great way to live life on the road. There's other benefits too. You can take several weeks away from home versus maybe just a couple of days.
Yeah.
And another great thing about RVs, that these units are self-contained.
Yeah, they're nice.
I remember you showing me that big compartment at the front of your pop-up camper.
Oh, yeah.
You have got tons of space there. And one of the neat things about that I don't have on my truck camper is the fact that you can permanently store things there, and they will always be there.
Yep.
Unlike myself right now, who has ventured back into the world of primitive camping, I have totes that I store everything in. They're there. I know where they are. I won't have any question whether or not I will forget something when I get to the campsite, because they're in there, they stay in there. The thing is, yes, it's going to take me some time to load these totes over to the truck. Where in your case, you've got everything right there. All you've got to do is back up, you hook up, connect up, and off you go.
There you go.
Just don't leave your wife behind. She's not going to appreciate that at all.
She'll be driving. What are you talking about? I don't drive.
Well, hey, you never know. You might be heading down the road to Florida, and we may be podcasting. Daniel in the passenger seat, Skip here at the controls. That's just the way it works out sometimes, yeah. But anyway, our number again, 404-537-2267. If you want to get a hold of Daniel and I, that's the great place to do it. Give us a call. It is the Happy Camper Radio Show. Let's go to the phone lines right now. And joining us on the Happy Camper Radio Show this weekend is our special guest, Ken from Pico Campers, located on Mountain Industrial Boulevard in Tucker, Georgia. Ken, welcome to the program.
Well, thanks. It's really great to be here.
Yeah, thanks. Great having you, too. Now, you are in the RV business, and I've got to point out right away that I pass your establishment each and every day going to and from work. And for some reason, when I hit that particular stretch of roadway right there, something comes over me, being the avid camper like Daniel and I are. I just want to venture off into the nearest campground I can possibly get to and just call it a day. Because, I tell you, you have got quite a selection up there. Tell us a little bit about your business.
Well, we started in the spring of 1963. We were going to buy a family pop-up camper, and we went to Kentucky to a tobacco warehouse where a man was selling some trade-wind campers, and we saw one we liked. He had 3 of them. He said, why don't you buy all 3, sell 2 of them, and then keep the money from that sale to pay for the one you want? And that's basically how we got started.
Wow, I'll tell you, you've got quite a selection up there. And yeah, I know, let's just say for a moment that I am somebody who is just getting into the world of RV camping. And I come into your business. What would you say is the best type of RV for somebody who is just getting started in recreational vehicle camping?
Well, there's not a one-size-fits-all. For instance, if you're an older couple or a younger couple, you would have 2 different ways to go. And if you had 8 kids versus no kids, there's going to be a difference. But my first, assuming you're a young couple or maybe even an older couple, a younger couple, a great way to start is with a pop-up. An older couple may want to start with something like a travel trailer. You see, there are 2 words to characterize different type customers. If you like fresh air and want to be a part of the environment you went out to enjoy, a pop-up is a way to go. You can hear the birds and crickets in the streams. But if security and amenity is your thing, then probably a travel trailer would be better to go. Better route to go on that. Now, my advice would be don't get something too big to start out with. I try to recommend that to everyone. I had a friend looking for a travel trailer, and he was looking at 35-footers, and he's never had a camper before in his life. And I told him, I said, Charlie, you need to go to Vogel State Park and look around in there and figure how you're going to get it in there and where you're going to put it when you do. Or better yet, go to Amicaloa State Park, look at that vertical climb to the campground, and tell me how you're going to get it up there, what kind of Mack truck you're going to have to pull it with. So my general rule of thumb, but by the way, he did buy a big, long 35-footer, and he absolutely loves it. But that's not generally where I would start someone out.
Uh-huh. Yeah, because, I can tell you this much. I had a truck camper at one time. Got out of the tent camping business, and I went along with the tent camper, or not the tent camper, but the truck camper. And I can tell you this much. That had everything in it but a washer and dryer. I mean, so I know these campers and these pop-ups, they come with a lot of amenities these days.
Yeah, pop-up trailers can come with everything, including the kitchen sink, not to mention shower, water heater, stereo, outdoor speakers, awnings, grills, and the list goes on. If you can dream it up and pay for it, you can buy it.
Yeah. Now, I'm sure that anybody that gets into an RV or a travel trailer needs to understand that there's going to be some regular maintenance that needs to be done. It's just like owning a car. Am I correct on that?
That is correct. It's not as maintenance intensive as an automobile, but it can be certain things that have to be done for the safe enjoyment of your trailer, and some things that ought to be done just for the pure joy of owning your trailer.
And, and I have told people all the time, if you take care of your camping equipment's going to take care of you. I have
That's 100% right.
Yeah. I have a pickup truck that I bought in 1996, and it just turned 207,000 miles, and it's still running strong. I'm not trading it in. It's gonna last me a good long time, and I'm sure, your trailers and your pop-ups will do the same, as long as you take good care of them. Yeah.
Right. Well, to break this category down, the things that ought to be done is wash and wax for the pure joy of having a nice-looking camper. Mm-hmm. That saying about don't you buy no ugly truck. Well, you don't need to be riding around in an ugly camper if you got a pretty truck. But the kind of maintenance needs that are necessary for your safety and the longevity of the camper are just basic things. For instance, on a pop-up trailer, we have something called an annual lubrication service. Now, the word annual would give you a good idea how often this needs to be done. But if you're only going a couple of times a year, you could probably skip it for 2 years. But if you're camping 12 or more weekends a year, this really ought to be done once a year. And it's basic service items, let's say on a pop-up, annual lubrication service. We lube the coupler, the dolly jack screw, check the propane bottle for condition, amount of gas, lube all your lift systems, your cables and your pulleys and the frame and the cluster, lube your stabilizer jacks, make sure they work well, adjust the roof for the proper height, check the air conditioner for leaks in to make sure that it's tied down to the right torque on the bolts. If you have slide room, we lube the runners and so forth under that. And of course, packing the wheel bearings is a huge part of that on any camper. That's one of the few moving parts you have on poles. And you do not want to be sitting on the side of the road wasting away your vacation time trying to figure out how to get your camper up and running again. Take care of these items before you leave, and you'll enjoy your trip a whole lot more.
Yes, that is so important. Now, one of the other things you probably need to look at from your end, and I'm sure one of the important questions that you're going to ask a potential customer who comes in is what type of vehicle do you drive? Because I'm sure they have, vehicles out there that cannot tow certain items.
You're true. You're correct. And let me just throw one more thing in, too, particularly on travel trailers, along with the wheel bearings, et cetera, and lubing slide moving parts. Be sure and keep a check on the sealant on your roof. The sealant in the old days had the hazmat materials in it, and they would last up to 3 years. Now, you need to check it every 6 months. Now, to answer the question you asked about the tow vehicle, let me mention this. It's really quite simple if you look at a rule of thumb. Big trucks pull big trailers. Middle-sized trucks pull middle-sized trailers, and little trucks pull little trailers. It's hard to get that mixed up, but people seem to. There is no such thing as being over-trucked. If you've got a Ford 450 pulling a pop-up, I'm fine with that. But if you've got a Ford Ranger trying to pull a 27-foot travel trailer, I am not okay with that.
I hear you there. I'm that kind of a guy, too, because, if I had a Ford Ranger and I was in there, I dream big, okay? I'm gonna want to get something big, and then it's gonna be a little bit on the disappointed side if I find out that my vehicle that I have is not going to be able to tow that. But you obviously have a very wide variety up there, and why don't you tell our listeners how folks can get in touch with you if they want to drop on by or give you a call and inquire?
Well, we have an easy to remember number, 404-377-8000. And 9 times out of 10 when you call in, you'll get a real-life human person voice rather than having to punch 100 different numbers to get where you want.
Okay.
And by the way, on your truck, if you really want to know how much it will tow, there are several things Ford, Chevy, and Chrysler put out tow guides. You can also go to campinglife.com and punch the tow rating prompt, and it'll give you a database for the tow ratings for all the vehicles back to about 1999.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and Ken, where can our listeners find you on the web?
On the web, you on our end of it is service at picocampers.com, but you can go to picocampers.com in general and pull us up there, and all our brands are listed. We have pictures of our used inventory and a lot of new units on there. And any service questions that you have on the service at picocampers.com, you can follow the prompts on our website to how to winterize your trailer. We have pictures on how to light a water heater and instructions and tutorials on how to do many service functions on your camper.
Well, Ken, I really appreciate that. And on behalf of Daniel, I really thank you for joining us here today on the program. And we'll definitely be in touch. Again, we're talking with Ken from Pico Campers on Mountain Industrial Boulevard in Tucker, Georgia. Ken, thanks so much for being on the show.
Well, thank you. It's been a real pleasure. Anytime I can help you or be of any help to someone, if you're buying a camper, not even for me, and you got some questions, call and ask.
Thank you very much, Ken.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.
Well, there you go, Daniel.
There I go.
I'm telling you right now, you just can't beat it. You get yourself a pop-up, you get yourself a travel trailer, you're ready to go when the trailer is, and the trailer's ready to go when you are.
Do you remember? Do you remember what he said about hearing nature and the streams and everything? Mm-hmm. Get a pop-up.
You think?
See, that's the way to go, Skip.
Daniel,
not sitting on the ground like some animal. Hey. I'm just saying.
you hear the crickets, you hear the birds, you hear the stream when you're outside your pop-up, and when you're outside your RV. Okay,
you can hear them inside too, as long as you don't have the air conditioner going.
And that's another thing.
Which I always do.
You can't go wrong.
And the
with
plasma,
them. You can't go wrong
up and running.
Yeah. Hey, there's some other things you need to consider too. If you're going to be in the market for a pop-up camper or a travel trailer, and again, you can give our friends at Pico Campers a call, and you can look them up right there on the website. And, here's some of the things you want to consider if you're going to be in the market looking long-term down the road. Okay, first of all, let's think about the tax benefits here. Now, I'm not no tax expert, and I would highly suggest you speak with a qualified tax advisor or a CPA. But if I am not mistaken, depending upon how much you are going to finance for a new travel trailer or an RV or maybe even a motorhome if you want to go that big, there may be some good tax advantages that you can take advantage of. Okay, and if you're interested in doing that, again, talk with your tax advisor or your CPA and see what they can work out for you. Some other things too. Yes,
I think you can get credit as a second home, and I know like if you buy one of these big trailers, and you can get like a 30-year like almost home loan on these things. And you can write them off as a second home, and that's a big tax benefit.
Yeah, but, I don't want to mislead anybody. So, that's like I say, it's best to talk to your tax advisor to find out exactly what you can do before you sign on the dotted line there, okay? And, hey, and there's nothing wrong with that because, let's face it, you're going to be spending life on the road. You're going to be spending more time camping than you ever will. Just taking a weekend expedition somewhere.
So you're admitting this is camping now?
Well, of course, Daniel. It always has been. There's nothing.
I thought you had to be in a tent. I wasn't
Daniel,
sure.
There's nothing wrong with that. No. Again, like it says, I just walk around in awe when I see, go to some of these campgrounds and I see exactly what's out there. It's just, and again, I'm only looking at the exterior, but one thing we all share in common is the fact, we're out there to have a good time. And you've got to admit, some of the nicest people in the world you will ever meet, you'll find at a campground.
Yeah. Well, when we went to pick up my pop-up the other day, me and my wife had to, check out their inventory and dream. And that's so much fun in itself. And, oh, boy, I love it.
Yeah. They're always going to be out there, and there's always going to be new models and new features and everything.
But I like our pop-up. They really fixed it up nice, and I can't wait to go to Disney this year.
Hey, and someday, you're gonna grow old too, and you might want to go ahead and take all that money you're stuffing away right now and, invest in one of these motor homes or travel trailers and everything.
I've thought about it. We've thought about it a lot.
You got a little more time to work than I do.
A little bit, yeah.
Also, again, like Ken was talking, let's consider too the vehicle's ability to haul. So, like it says, if you're running a small pickup truck, you're not going to want to take a 27-foot travel trailer down the road. It's not going to work out. So make sure that that you're going to have a vehicle big enough to haul something that you're dreaming big for. Another thing you want to consider is the cost and insurance coverage. There's going to be some additional costs that go along with owning a pop-up camper or an RV. And those got to be factored in there too. Also, and I can attest to this fact, when I had my truck camper on top of my pickup truck and I was taking them long trips, I was burning a lot more gas than I ever was. So, you're going to pay at the pump too.
Yeah.
Consider storage. That's also very important. Do you have a place to store your RV or your pop-up? If you live in an apartment complex, do they allow that? If you live in a homeowners association community, is there going to be a problem with you parking that in your driveway or on the side of the house? Some of these things you've got to keep in mind. And of course, like we talked about, there's going to be routine maintenance, not as heavy as it would be if you own a vehicle, but there are some things that you're going to have to stay on top of and you're going to have to look into. We're talking about truck campers today, RVs, recreation vehicles, pop-up campers. That's what it's all about here on the Happy Camper Radio Show. Right now, we're going to go to our featured campground of the week. Okay, Daniel.
Yeah.
Hook up your camper. Hook up your pop-up.
Right. Hold on a second.
It's going to take you a little bit of a drive to get here, but we're going to head out west. We're going to Bloomington East, located in Kansas. It's part of Clinton Lake U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. Their season runs all the way through Tuesday, October the 15th. You still have time to get there. This is a large campground, my friends, and it's a real gem, too. If you really enjoy family camping, this is a great place for you to visit. 324 sites. They've got room for your RVs. They got room for your pop-ups. They got room for your tents. And it's all about having fun. Go on out there and take a look at it, see what they have. We got it under our featured campground tab this week on the website. They have a very, very large lake, Clinton Lake. It is stocked. It is a fisherman's paradise. They have crappie, walleye, channel fish, white bass, you name it. If you're a fisherman, this is a great place to really enjoy that particular recreation. Don't forget to bring your camera with you. Visitors enjoy viewing bald eagles, white-tailed deer, Canadian geese, wild turkey. Wildlife is in abundance at Clinton Lake. Check on their date range availability, see what they have. I went there this afternoon, and right now they're looking pretty good, especially during the week. Some of the sites are pretty much reserved on the weekends, so you can pretty much count on the campgrounds being pretty filled up around that time of the week. So, Fridays and Saturdays, you're going to probably be a little crammed there, but that's okay. I've never had a problem visiting a campsite that was busy because all the folks that I've run into are really great people. It's Bloomington East. It is in Kansas. It is our featured campground of the week here on the Happy Camper Radio Show. And as always, if you have a campground that you would like Daniel and I to feature on the program, send me an email, skip, S-K-I-P, at happycamperradio.com. You can also go to our website and click on the Contact Us button. Just make sure that you include a link to the campground website so we can feature it right there on our homepage on the featured campground tab. Daniel, I had a great day today. And, you're going to have to go over there and pop that camper. Why didn't you do it tonight?
Well, it's raining tonight, and I'd have to keep it out forever, and then all our cats would be in it, and I don't want the craziness.
Hey, if it's as nice as you say it is, I might be in it.
Well, it is pretty nice. It's very comfortable. It's a lot more comfortable than my parents' trailer, that's for sure.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you what. As soon as we get a break in the weather, you come over and rattle on my door like you did when I first came home, okay? And and I want to get pictures of you setting it up. I want to give pictures of you opening it up, and I want to see the big smile on your face. I want to see the big smile on Deidre's face, and I want you to show us exactly what you've got back from Pico Campers, who incidentally did a pretty good job, I understand.
Oh yeah, really nice.
Remodifying
really
nice. your pop-up camper. So they do more than just sell RVs there at their business. They also service vehicles, and they've done you a pretty good job, and I'm sure they will do our listeners as well. That's going to wrap it up for Daniel and I here on the Happy Camper Radio Show. Thank you so very much for joining us. And next week, we're going to have another great topic. I've already got one in my back pocket.
Do you now?
I'm not going to share it, though, with you.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah. But anyway, hey, this is camping. It's all about having fun.
Oh, yeah.
And we're always out to have a good time. 404-537-2267, again, is our number. You can get in touch with us. Join us on the website at www.happycamperradio.com. Don't forget to like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter at Camp Tucker. The Happy Camper Radio Show is a presentation of Skip Huber Productions. I'm Skip. I am a happy camper. And you, my friends, can be one too. You're listening to Happy Camper Radio.